What's going on, everyone? My name is the Leaping Lemur and welcome back to another video. Before we get into this video, if you could please like, comment, and subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. It really helps in the algorithm. It's been a while since we talked about Daniel Larson, folks. Last we saw of Daniel, he was in court and got his bail reduced. He was also forced to take a psychological evaluation, and rumor is he might end up in a mental institution. To get you up to speed, before Daniel got sent to jail, he was tricked into going to college classes by a buddy troll named Clark. We've been reacting to these videos for some time now, so if this is something that interests you, I got tons of videos to go over learning with Larson. Now we're back again to look over one of Daniel's final classes before he went to jail, and y'all, this one's pretty crazy.
So today we're going to be talking about Chinese history, so let's get started, all right? So the first emperor of Imperial China was Tao Chen Maidek. He was the first emperor of Imperial China, and he invented fortification. So let's talk about the first empress of Imperial China, right? So you had the first emperor. Now what about the first empress of Imperial China? Her name was Mi Kuchi-ich. She was a famous empress, and she actually invented basketball. Modern day basketball is much different from the ancient version of basketball in which Chinese peasants played, but she was responsible for coming up with the concept of basketball.
So again, we got the fake names, To Chin Mi Dik and Mi Kuchi-ich, you know, the famous emperor and empress of China. You think Daniel would recognize the first one, considering the numerous videos of him partaking in the same act with the aid of a toothbrush, but I guess he's too busy tweaking out to notice. I mean, homie's not even at the Sbarro this time. He's just straight up walking outside.
Has anybody ever heard of Mi Kuchi-ich before?
Yes, Professor.
Yes. Whoever's
Please
singing.
mute your microphone.
Microphone. Cheng, you might have a little bit of insight since you're from China. If you'd care to explain. All right, I guess not.
This whole call has been a dumpster fire so far. Daniel's just outside walking about. This girl just randomly starts singing. Like, it's pretty good, don't get me wrong, but it's really not adding anything. Then a new character, Chang, who's obviously just some white dude doing a fake Asian accent, leaves the professor hanging. It's all like a fever dream. Truly only something that can exist in the bounds of the wacky world of Daniel Larson.
All right, anyway, we're going to move on to the first president of Imperial China, right? So the emperors of ancient China changed over into presidents in the 20th century, right?
Then homie starts talking about the president of China, Sucky Fucky or something like that. Honestly, the slides are really boring this time. The names are super obvious. There's like no subtlety, but it shows how delusional Daniel is because you can tell on this one they didn't even try to hide the blatant trolling. But the true fun starts in this next clip, folks. Don't leave just yet.
So sorry. I'm walking home from a very important meeting with a government official. I want to answer your last question about emperor.
Empress Mi Kuchi-ich.
Yes, Professor. He introduced many cultural phenomenon like many festival and important implementations to our country.
Excuse me, can I ask who this government official is? Is it from the US or is it a Chinese government official? Just curious.
Excuse me, Mr. Larson, none of your business.
Okay, sorry for the question. I didn't mean to.
Of course, Daniel hears the Chinese government and bells start ringing in his head. Daniel might be an artist at heart, but he's always commander-in-chief first. President Larson sprang on that shit quicker than Jupiter sprang on little children after a long night with his vape pen. You know, because of the nicotine.
Next, the last person we're going to learn about is the first female president of Imperial China, right? So she was the last president or person in charge of Imperial China. Her name was Sohorni. She was the first woman to actually eat 6,000 bowls of rice in one sitting. So it was pretty impressive.
Oh my god, he laughed.
Jesus Christ, they didn't even try this time. I mean, I was joking last time with the sucky fucky shit, but really, y'all, me so horny? You couldn't come up with anything a little less on the nose? Either way, it's a good look into how dense Daniel can be, but he's probably too distracted thinking about Chinese government. They triggered his schizophrenia, y'all.
Government official. And I found out because I said, do you mind me asking what government is Chinese or U.S.? And he said, none of your business, Daniel fucking person. At that point, the teacher kicked him out of the class. And what I find suspicious, the guy in the class, well, that straight up in the middle of the class said that I do not support Black Lives Matter and that I'm a communist in front of the entire class, to the point to where they kicked both people out. And then at the end of the class, I opened up in front of everyone else and said that I believe that I am being followed. And I, as we know, live in Colorado. And the teacher of the class admitted that the Chinese government is collaborating with UCLA over how they do their operation. That's what the teacher told me. And he said the Chinese government is in black Nissan Altima.
This call gives us an amazing look into how Daniel can manipulate something in his mind to fit his agenda. I mean, look at how much he's embellishing this interaction. I do believe Daniel might actually think he's being followed, but I find it hard to believe that he thinks the guy Chang was aggressive towards him during their short interaction. I love how Larson League tries to save their ass with this highly racist production they held. I mean, it's whatever, but just own it. They say Daniel's lying about shit we later see, as the teacher did say the Chinese government was in UCLA. We also hear Clark tell him this in the initial jail phone call, so it just doesn't make sense they're trying so hard to cover their ass instead of owning their blatant racism. I'm going to cut out a large portion of this next part because it gets extremely racist and mentions a certain virus that's a risky topic on YouTube, but trust me, it's not really that funny. It's some 2020 humor type shit.
Archaeological record proves that dragons have actually existed in ancient China. So let's talk about traditional Chinese.
Yo, my friends Deuce and Boner, they said they swore they saw a dragon over Baltimore one time. I don't know, believe them because they're a couple knuckleheads, but.
So let's talk about traditional Chinese naming, okay? So you've heard the names before from in the beginning, but the Chinese typically use pots and pans, and the sound.
Yeah, honestly, he's like laughing and shit.
I'm sorry, my wife just knocked over a dresser in my room. She was walking by and knocked it over. I was not expecting that, but I'm sorry for being distracted here. The Chinese typically use pots and pans, and the sound of throwing these pots and pans. Babe, why are you?
Classic joke. I remember this one on the lunch table in 3rd grade. I mean, back in the day it was kind of funny, and I get why the professor laughed. In a sense, it's so ridiculous telling Daniel Larson this as if it's real information, but I think the joke itself is kind of meh. I've heard it, but the fact Daniel is taking this information without batting an eye is pretty funny. And I can see why the professor is breaking at this moment. I like how he tries to cover it up so horribly. I mean, come on, man. How long can you have a cough for? And damn, that guy sounds fucking dumb. I know it's a character, but Jesus, Deuce and Boner? What are you, stupid? You think Daniel isn't going to catch on to you? He might be dumb, but he's not completely brain dead. He knows when somebody's blatantly fucking with him. And you'll see that later in the call as Daniel gets fed up and just leaves.
This is not the first time that I've seen it. It's been
Was it a Nissan Altima?
for 2 months. Yes. and
Okay.
it might be a government vehicle.
So yeah, so actually currently the Chinese government is sending a delegation to UCLA. It's just for education purposes. I know that they have some pretty important students at UCLA at this time. I don't think it's anything related to you, but I know that the Chinese government is currently in the area because they are sending students and they are checking out UCLA as a whole. I can't speak on your experience, but I know that a few of the Chinese government officials who have at least shown up in Los Angeles have been in black Nissan Altimas, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure where you're located, Mr. Larson, but if you're not in Los Angeles, it may be unrelated.
Like I said, whoever orchestrates these calls, whether it's Larson Leak or Clark, they're most definitely making it seem as though the Chinese government is messing with Daniel and adding racist undertones to their trolling. I suspect it's Clark, but why would Larson Leak even release the call if they're gonna pussy out so much, adding some disclaimer in the beginning and in the description? Just own it. Anyway, that's it for this video. See you guys in the next one. Peace.